I just took on another Subaru project. And this isn't any Subaru project. This Subaru has been sitting for 5 years and it's rough. As you can see, it's rough. We got dents everywhere. We got spray paint just falling off. We got tons of rust everywhere. I don't even know how this happens, but we got rust on the door. Never seen that before. And we got faded carbon fiber. We got crusty, dusty wheels, brakes, and rotors. Pretty much the entire car is rough all the way around. Motor, rough. So, we're going to be restoring this car. And we're not going to be restoring it with this chassis. We're actually going to be taking another chassis and swapping everything from this chassis over to another chassis. And it's not this chassis. We're actually picking up a new shell for this guy that I'm restoring this project for this week. And it's another Hawkeye. So it's going to be pretty easy to swap over. We don't have to do like headlight splicing or anything like that. And while we're swapping everything over, we're going to be basically going through everything, motor-wise, transmission, anything that moves or that needs to be fixed, regasted, or updated even. For instance, like one of the things we're going to be updating is boost controller. As you can see, this ancient boost controller is a manual boost controller. And when it comes to manual boost controllers, they aren't as consistent as an electronic boost controller. So that's just one example of what we're going to be like updating on the car while we're tearing this thing down and then making it nice again. So this car has been sitting for 5 years now. And as you can see, it has been sitting for 5 years. It's pretty obvious. Looking at the motor, it's really not that bad. It's rusty, it's crusty. As you can see, it's been sitting for quite some time. A lot of rust. That is actually the front mount intercooler like bracket that holds the front mount intercooler on. So that's another thing that we're gonna have to address when it comes to swapping over onto the new chassis. This thing is wide bodied and it is rough. We got the flares are cracked. We got cut fenders. Well, this one's not even cut. This one's just crusty, as you can see. But they like cut the front fenders for the flares, and they didn't even like seal it off, as you can see. I mean, that's something you would do in like the rear. You would cut the inner quarter panel to allow more suspension travel. But they didn't even do it here. They just kind of bolted on the flares, but I mean, that's fine too. Basically though, the owner of this car hit me up and he was like, hey, I want to make this car enjoyable again and nice looking. And I was like, hell yeah, I can do that. If this thing wasn't wide bodied and rusty, this shell would definitely be savable. Obviously just with new paint job and some minor body work. But obviously that's not the case. We're going to be putting everything from this car onto a nice chassis and making it nice. So there is one upside to this car sitting for 5 years, and that's the interior stayed super nice. As you can see, the interior is in great shape. It's just dirty, needs a nice vacuum. So that's not something we really have to worry about. You know, restoring when we're swapping everything over to the chassis, it's really just going to come down to making this interior nice and clean. So it's not like crusty. So one thing that I forgot to mention right away on this car is it's not actually an STI. It's actually an 02 WRX that's been fully swapped to an STI conversion. And they basically welded on the new core support. As you can see the welds for the 07 conversion. And I have the original ad that the guy gave me, which is super cool. You can kind of see the mod list. The owner of the car drove this thing on the daily, and it was a really good running and driving car, but family came up and it kind of just became like a back burner kind of thing. It sat for a minimum of 5 years, and so this motor has not ran in 5 years. And the first thing I want to do is check the motor's health, and I already put new oil in it. So we're gonna go ahead and start this up, and this is gonna be the first start in 5 years. So let's see what it's like. So I got the jumper hooked up to the battery, and we do have power. I don't think this thing will have an issue starting. I do think it's gonna run a little rough, obviously, because it's got a 5-year-old fuel in it. It's probably pretty watered down, who knows. I don't even know if there's ED5 in here or pump gas, so that's another question. I just want to hear how the motor sounds, just so I can give you guys like a good cold start on a car that's been sitting for 5 years. So let me get the button pushed and let's get it started up. So we have power. Let's start it up. Look at that, right up. I've never seen a car start up so fast after it's been sitting for so long. Man, it actually sounds super, super smooth. I mean, granted, we haven't done like a compression test or leak down test, but it does have cams, by the way. That's why it is idling probably a little rough, as well as old fuel, so that really does not help. But it does sound pretty healthy. It's not like making any sort of weird noises. Nice rotated turbo. So just getting back in this thing, I wanted to just go into gear real quick just to see what, you know, first gear would feel like, what the clutch feels like. And like this thing wants to just move. Like this thing just wants to drive already. Like that's crazy to me that this car's been sitting for 5 years, and like I started up and it just wants to go. You know what I mean? You can actually hear the turbo kind of wind down. Holy crap, that's dirty. So yeah, this thing has been sitting for, like I said, 5 years, and it just started up no problem. No problem whatsoever. Obviously, it needs a lot of love, and we're gonna make this thing look nice, and we're gonna make this thing drive nice again. So the owner of the car actually provided us with a bunch of parts for the car. We got new brakes, we got some updated parts, headlights, tons of new fluids, we got a full gasket kit, new timing, air oil separator, coolant, we got fluid for the trans and diff, brand new battery, we got an R180, and that's just a start. Now, I don't want to really start on tearing this car apart just yet until I get the other shell right next to us. That way I can go through the new shell. This is not the new shell, don't worry about that. Once I get the new shell here, that way I can go through the new shell and figure out what parts I want to swap over from this car to this car that are obviously nicer on this car than the parts car. And like I said, the customer is on a budget, so I kind of have to work with what I have between the two cars that I have. But obviously the motor, the transmission, the Brembos, the wheels, and pretty much all the nice parts obviously are going to come off this car and then go on to the new shell. So, but like I said, when we have the motor out, we're going to be resealing it, we're going to be regasketing it, new head gaskets, new seals, pretty much all the good stuff. So once this motor's back in the car, it's going to be tip-top shape. It's not going to be leaking. It's not going to be seeping. It's not going to be doing anything that we don't want it to. It's just going to be basically ready to tune and get back on the road again. So yeah, today's priority was kind of just making sure the motor actually ran. And by the sounds of it, it's healthy. And that's all we wanted to hear really today. Because obviously if the motor was like knocking for some reason, we can't rebuild that. I mean, we can, but obviously like that's not within the customer's budget. So that was kind of like the first thing we had to do today after getting the car in the shop. Yeah, I'm super, super excited about this project. I love saving these cars. I mean, these cars are dying. Obviously, you can see I have 3 of them just in my garage right now. Obviously, this is my personal project that's going to be taking a while. But once it comes to getting it on the rotisserie, I'm ready to crank it out and actually get everything installed that I've been saving up for the last couple of years on it, and then making some crazy power. Now, this is a project I really am excited about because it is a running and driving car, but it has been sitting for so long that it needs a lot of love. And that's what I really enjoy doing, is saving old, crappy GTs, Subarus, and making them nice and drivable again. And this is a perfect example of a car that just needs some love. So yeah, next video is going to be coming out pretty soon here. Once we get the new shell in the garage, once I get this car out, we can bring in the new shell and then start kind of going over everything between the two cars, figuring out what we want to keep, what we don't want to keep, and then start tearing off parts of this car, restoring them as best we can, and then kind of just going from there. So with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.